If you see a video I made yesterday in which I was talking to my friends Costin and Judy, you'll notice that my appearance changes. It's cosmetics. Specifically, I dye my Van Dyke. That's what this is called. I'm okay with giving people a younger first impression than the fact that I'm 59. Obviously, I'm not hiding that I'm 59, September 2020. But the funny thing is I use a lot more cosmetics than you might think if you to look at me. See, actually, I'm in disguise. I'm a 5 foot tall immigrant woman from Vietnam. I need a lot more dental work than is apparent, and I've needed an artificial leg since I had my real leg blown off as a child. I'm only 29 years old, which is half my stated age of 59, but I've had a hard life. I actually have 3 children, and my best job prospects is to tend to be a much older white man. Just saying. I need to stop at the dollar store for some drinkage. But if you think about it, parking farther away, it'll keep the car cooler. And I could use the walk, couldn't you? There's ethical considerations in almost anything you do. For example, I like dollar stores. This is all $1, of course. But which do you choose? You have orange juice, apple juice, and you have cocktail, lemonade, fruit punch, lemonade, sugar, and blah, blah, blah. So, which do you choose, right? For reasons both ethical and practical, I washed my own car at one of those wand places. That's where I keep all the stuff related to keeping my car clean. These are the tools I'll need today for this evolution. I've already spliced a little of the car wash into there. You'll see why. You know, a bill changer is like a slot machine, except you always break even. Yay! I win. I got $6 worth, but I don't think I'll need it all. Okay, I got everything out of the way inside. It's all in the trunk, except that I'm going to use in a minute. Now, given how thorough I am, which is the better deal? Do your math. I can get it done in 6 minutes. 6 minutes later, approximately. Yeah, looks pretty good. So I put the bucket back in here, drive into the car wash. So one thing I like about this car wash, my favorite in Boise at Pershing and Overland, near my chosen budget laundromat, is that the machines start at $0.25. Now I'm only going to need pre-soak, and I'll just go with high pressure soap and the brush and the rinse. You don't need spot-free rinse if you dry your car. I have a chamois. I don't need this because I got turtle wax I used, and I keep them pretty clean already. So yeah, high pressure brush rinse. There we go. So I started with $3.50 and change. I got $1. It's all been sprayed, high pressure, and soaped down, and now is where we save some time and money. I'm going to clean the windows, and I'm going to brush these things out, no matter what car wash you go through. They don't do any good job with this. By the way, I think this tool is for washing dishes or grills or something, but, you know, in the real world, it's for what I want it to be for. Alright, I'm ready to rinse. Okay, so I wiped the whole car down, but we're not done. We're going to get out of here because it's getting busy. And one thing, if you dry your car with a cloth, you pick up some road tar and crap that is spraying and you might have missed earlier. And one more thing. Did you know Rockies is closed? No more skateresses. I'll have a Grilled cheese sandwich with fries. Thanks. So the windshield's a little streaky, and I need to wipe down these door wells and spray this and dust that. And so for the windows, I got this t-shirt and this not soapy chamois still left, and then I'm gonna use a little spray on the wheels, maybe the black trim, and that's my glass cleaner. We'll see what it looks like. Yeah, you see, after the car wash, this water's still pretty clean. I ended up needing one more rag to do some wiping of this stuff. And oh, there's Alfina. There's a story about her. And I've done the windows. They look better. I decided the tire shine was an extravagance I don't have time for today. So, cleaned out the trunk. Got waterfowl food, my tripod and computer, because this is office space. And recycling and dirty dishes to bring home, and my laundry. And in a minute we'll discuss what's ethical about having a clean and well-organized car. Okay, I needed to stop and get a drink. Here's a failure. Usually I have a cooler with some of them blue ice packs. So I stopped to get a couple of these Arizona things. They're 99 cents everywhere, right? Shouldn't matter, except they're not. You can get them at Winco cheaper, like 68 or 77, something like that. And then you save money. I basically only carry around what I need or what I think I'm going to need in the next week. I wash my car every 2 weeks, so that doesn't weigh very much. I got tools I would actually need, fluids, an air compressor. That's work-related stuff. I recycle aluminum off of construction sites, and this board I recycled also from a construction site. That's my cutting board. And how do we recycle these? Well, since reuse is the highest form of recycling, instead of putting them in those baggies outside of Walmart or whatever, thrift stores love these things. Most thrift stores are in need of these. Collect them, and you should be visiting a thrift store anyway, right? At least one. You see, your car is like a baby that can't tell you if it's feeling sick. The way you keep track is by keeping track of the gas mileage. Now, my driving patterns have changed also, but by taking out excess weight in the trunk, this has helped me get this kind of mileage, and I used to struggle to get above 20. This is a 20-year-old Taurus. Why do I want it to be so distinctive? Because I work in the park, and you can come find me and talk to me anytime I'm working. I have time for you. In case you wondered how this works. Yeah, dollar store stuff. 3-pack of these, I think 4 maybe. Dollar store. Improvise. You're about to see, or will have seen, depending on editing, a bunch of Canadian geese in Boise. Canadian geese, I want you to know, is the reason, one of the reasons, why Boiseans are so polite. I drove taxi in this town for 7 years, and visitors would say, Boiseans are so polite. That's the reason why you should come to Boise, is because we're so polite. But see, Canadians are polite. And so we have the influence of the Canadian geese. They are very polite. For geese, very polite. So here come the geese, and notice the sign. If you're going to break the law, just do it out in the open. In my case, I respect the opinion of the city council or whoever. See, they see the bag, that's why they're coming. The Parks Department in Boise does a great job, but I prefer the waterfowl's opinion, and they like popcorn. Now, a couple of things you want to know or want to practice. See, the ducks are more shy, so I try to feed the ducks ahead of the geese. The geese are not shy, and the seagulls are natural born assholes. Duck, duck. There you go. All right, and another thing you want to know about geese: they don't have teeth. They won't hurt you. They don't have teeth. Yeah, there you go. Here. Duck! There you go. Geese. Duck! Yeah, see, this is fun. Here we go. Duck! These ducks are less shy. Maybe they're hungry. I don't know. What about you? You get something? Here you go. Good for it. Sit. Yeah, I've never seen any of these choke on popcorn. So if you want to make it last a little longer, just do that. There we go. I'm tired. I got another movie. Gotta be good. When I came more frequently, like the other day, they recognized my car. My recognizable car. If you recognize my car, maybe we can feed each other. Well, look, my hands were greasy from popcorn, but somebody cleverly left me a damp rag here. Rinsed out and everything. And the animals are off to shop or something, who knows. So here's my car. It's cooling in the park. Let's return to something that was earlier this morning when I'm at the dollar store and I said it's ethical to park in the shade. Now, why would that be ethical to park in the shade? Well, here's the fact. If you're parked out in the sun and your dark-skinned car warms up a lot, it takes a lot more AC to cool down your car. AC, running your AC burns more gasoline. And efficiency itself is ethical. I'll explain about that in a second. But you see, you don't want to burn extra gasoline. I'm such a fanatic about it that I'm out of Freon, and since I barely used it anyway, out of guilt in a sense, it's not worth it to me to run my AC. The upside is I drive a car that looks like that. I roll down 3 of the 4 windows and I crank music sometimes. Hey, I need attention. I'm okay with that. So, what has ethics to do with conservation? Well, to some people, this seems obvious. To others, to my surprise sometimes, it does not. In Christianity, the terminology is stewardship. There's people walking around that call themselves conservatives. And I saw one yesterday. In a minute, I'll tell you about that. But conservatives, what are they conserving? Well, a lot of the conservatives that I know, they're not conserving steel. They won't recycle. They throw out aluminum. Some of them are wasteful unless it's economically apparent. You know, the light bill went up, so let's do something. But, you know, don't complain that your light bill is too high unless you replace all of your bulbs that are appropriate with fluorescents. You can get those in a dollar store. I'll bet you can get them cheaper. And now there's LED lighting, and presumably obviously the cost of those will go down, and we have lots of choices for saving electricity. So don't complain about your power bill until you've done everything you can to control the situation. But here's the point. You should conserve resources because there's nothing virtuous about poverty. If somebody is in need and you have no excess because you're wasteful, because you ride too close to the economic
ground and are always in danger of going under, you can't help somebody. There's nothing virtuous about maybe sometimes being in need yourself, when if you just have better habits and conserve fuel and were smart about how you lived and shopped in thrift stores instead of paying full price, you could save money. And then you can give to charities, you can give more to your church, you can be a better example, be a better example. Now, let's talk about, I said it was ethical to keep a car clean and organized. Well, part of that is resource conservation. I've known people that they just don't know where anything is. They end up buying two or three because they have it somewhere. People own houses these days because they need more space. We need a bigger house. Did you have another kid? Well, no, I need more closet space because I bought stuff I don't need, which is why it's in the closet. We need to rethink how we live on the planet because there's only so many resources to go around right now, short of mining the asteroid belts, etc., which requires technology. But the point is that when somebody is in need of something, when somebody can barely afford something, and maybe this somebody is in your community, how is it good for you? How is it ethical? By what standard? What philosophy? What religious persuasion says that that is okay for you to waste when somebody else is in need? Now, here is a specific example. Here is why I believe the cost of gasoline is too high in America. What did he just say? Here's why. Because we waste it. We waste it. Yesterday, I walked into some store. There's a woman out with running her car. It was hot already. She had all the windows up. She's running the AC, doing something on her phone or whatever. I don't judge. She's only going to be there a second. I'm glad she's got an economical car and can afford to run the AC and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. I went in the store. I was in there 10, 15 minutes. I come back out and she's still sitting there. How dare she waste gasoline when there's people in our community who are suffering and can't afford to buy enough gasoline? Gasoline is not cheap. It's cheap because in this country, the government gives tax breaks, social engineering to help out gas companies, fuel companies, and stuff. And that's okay. But we live in a system where, they're always trying to cut back food stamps. How is that okay? Is this political? I don't think so. It's ethical. Ethics. If you start looking at the world, not from who granddaddy voted for and you always did and blah blah blah. How is that relevant if you could look at any issue and go, is it right or is it wrong? Is it shades of gray this way? Is it whitish? How does it benefit everybody? To Christians, there are two commandments, two great commandments. Do we remember what they are? The first one, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, soul, etc. And the second great commandment, thy neighbor. How are you Christian and you espouse or support or whatever, go along with policies of a political party that quite obviously doesn't give a rat's ass about their neighbor? If you look at it ethically and take the politics and the bullshit out, it seems pretty simple. What do you want the world to look like in 4 years? This is important, right? You have a decision to make. Make the right decision, or if you can't stand either choice, once you look at both of them from your point of view ethically. You don't have to support somebody you don't like, just refuse to support either of them. That's also a choice. Vote for your local people, vote for your governor. They matter. If you can't stand the ones who are either a threat to you in the future or seem like they're trying to burn down the freaking country right now, whatever your point of view, if both of those perceptions seem correct, looking at it ethically, not politically, forget politics. That's all crap. It clouds the issues. Look at things ethically. Make the right decision. If you don't have to pick the lesser of two evils, for some government offices, you can pick none of the above or vote for a third party candidate, something, whatever. That's ethics. Forget the politics.
Needed to move. The sun moves. Not really, right? Not that way. I'm in Julia Davis Park. There's a lake over here, and the direction I was pointed before has got tennis courts, and there's a restroom over there, and horseshoe pits. Come visit Boise. Bring money. You don't need money to come to a park. But they are beautiful. Okay, so I was going to say a couple of things about reputation. The first story is personal, and the second is national. And this is about reputation. Now, you don't want to become crazy on one subject. I briefly dated a woman who I felt ecologically was a fellow traveler. She recycled aluminum. She was always picking up stuff. You know, seemed philosophically normal. Okay, except she drove a car that was always dirty. This you wouldn't think has anything to do with ethics. I'll explain why it does. It was always dirty. It was cluttered. It was the kind of car that if you needed to pick up a friend in need or was driving by somebody who needed a ride to the hospital or whatever, it would take you 10 minutes to move all the crap out of one seat or out of the back seat into the trunk or whatever to help somebody. How do you help somebody if you're thinking normally and they just need a ride and it would take you half a day to drive a presentable car? Now, I got into the habit of driving a presentable car when I drove taxi. I also started emphasizing needing to save fuel when I drove taxi, because the way the taxi business works in this town, the company I worked for, was you paid a lease, you paid your gas, you filled it up at the end of the shift, and you hoped that the guy who drove the other 12 hours filled it all the way up. Sometimes they don't. And whatever you took in, you take out the lease, you take out your gas, that's what you made and pay taxes on, etc. You're in business for yourself. So when I say the cost of gas is too high, this is coming from somebody who was driving taxi when it was $4. So my perspective is a little different. If it's under $4, I'm okay. Now, this woman, I took her on a date downtown and she picked up cigarette butts the whole time. For some reason, she focused on picking up cigarette butts. It's the kind of person you don't want to be seen with. Who's picking up cigarette butts? Well, homeless people that need a smoke, for one thing. Do you want to look like a homeless person? Well, if your car is so cluttered that people get the impression you're a homeless person and you sleep in your car, well, maybe there's value in identifying with homeless people. I guess it depends on what kind of reputation it is you want to have and with who. You can be kind to homeless people without resembling them. the third thing, which was just kind of weird, was she was always picking up aluminum in the road and whatever, is in the parking lot as we would go into a restaurant, and she wouldn't stop and bring it back to the car or whatever. She would bring it in with her to a place to eat, aluminum that she found in the street. You want to look like a homeless person? Reputation is important. She identified as a good person with, certain ethical groups, etc. She came, but she was so focused in on her thing, she didn't have perspective. Well, we all need to find balance. We need to find a place where we can live with people and not be threatening, and live by our ethics. Whatever ethics it is you espouse, if you say you are a certain kind of person and you're not, there's two levels of hypocrisy. Let's understand this. There's people who have an ethical standard and they are always trying to meet it, but they can't quite. That's human. There's second level hypocrisy. It's where you espouse certain doctrines, blah, 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 but you don't live them. If Christianity, for example, lived by the standard of stewardship in America, imagine the opportunity that has been missed, because they don't generally, where you'd hear a BBC news program, and anytime they're talking about ecology, they would say, which in America is also called stewardship, just as commonly, because Christians lived by what they preach, or at least read. Because reputation involves saying you're a certain way and being that. That's simple. It's the opposite of hypocrisy.